Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 4 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. The Karma Stories podcast is published to all major podcasting platforms, and you can also read along on YouTube under our @Karma Stories podcast handle. Today's episode is sponsored by my 3D printing website. Visit dangly3d.com where you can get your hands on your very own Carmen Chameleon Karma Stories mascot. And yes, it comes complete with cookies. There's a bunch of other items on that site as well, like dragons and keychains and fidget toys. Check them out now at dangly3d.com. Link in the description on both YouTube and on the podcast. Alright, on to today's stories, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from CandidAd5642. Sometimes compliance is more fun. Background: this happened early 1990s, just after the Cold War was silently dropped. In my country, we had universal draft for any fit young man. The setup: I was stationed in a camp up north. Boredom reigned supreme. The camp had 2 gates, the main gate to the south, at the end of a dead-end street, a few hundred meters from the main road, and a gate to the north. The officers' mess and the bachelor's officers' quarters was just outside that gate. To go from the rear gate to the main gate outside the camp, one would have to go out to the main road, move south some 100 meters, and then up that dead-end street. The instructions for guard duty at the gates were really simple. If you personally know the person and know that the person in question is actively serving, if the person can show military ID, or if someone in the first 2 categories can vouch for them, you can let them in. Else, they have to get in touch with the guard commander, usually located in the guardhouse just outside the main gate. No ID required to leave. Since the regular mess hall served something borderline edible at the good days, most officers would eat in the officers' mess. Since the Cold War was over, most on guard duty would not bother with the required ID checks. The Malicious Compliance. Serving in the north is boring. Guard duty is also boring. My troop found that checking ID, especially at the rear gate, could be a little fun though. In the morning, quite a few would forget their wallet with their ID in their rooms and have to run back to get it. No big deal. Going back in and getting the wallet was just 5 minutes, but a bit of a hassle when they were already running late. And the later they were running, the more probable it was they had forgotten their ID. The real deal was after lunch, since a lot would leave their ID in the office, and so not have any way to collect it without getting into the camp. So they would have to go around nearly a kilometer and then go to the guard captain and get a note so they could enter through the main gate. Easily at least 15 minutes extra on the less than 5-minute stroll back from lunch. Seems a lot of the officers in our direct chain of command, so we had to know them, or that had their ID ready, found this fun as well, since getting a colleague to vouch for them seemed difficult. The ones declining would be smiling and laughing about it. We got a lot of attaboys for following protocol, even from officers we had denied access. Sometimes you just need to turn a mundane task into a source of amusement. Even if this comes at the expense of inconveniencing a couple of officers, it's entertaining. And they played along too. Our next story is a 2-parter. It comes from Flashy Room 321 and starts in the I the Butthole subreddit, but finishes in Malicious Compliance. So let's start with the I the Butthole post. It's titled, "Will I be the butthole if my girlfriend and I kick her brother out?" My girlfriend, 24, and I, 24, decided to try to help her brother, 22, out of a DV relationship. We offered him a free place to live with financial support until he was able to get back on his feet. We made it blatantly clear that he would need to follow certain rules because he has a history of lying, disappearing, and multiple hospital visits due to his mental health. The rules were pretty simple. Do not contact the ex, get a job within a month, no dating until he sees a therapist regularly, etc. I should emphasize that these rules were agreed on by everybody, and we didn't just spring these on him out of nowhere. Literally, after 2 to 3 days of him staying in our apartment, he went back to his place to pack his things. We didn't have a problem with this because we had no reason not to trust him at the time. Today, I and his mom went to his apartment to help him move his stuff out, and that was the start of the crap show. When we arrived to his place, we discovered that he had not packed despite being there for almost a week, and his apartment was filthy. Despite that, most of the moving went fine until we tried to move his couch. When we picked up the couch, we saw cockroaches in it. We were aware his apartment had cockroaches, but we had no idea it was this bad because he told us it wasn't a big deal. He said he only saw one. I should bring up the fact that he came over to our place an hour before we started moving so that we could throw my couch away since we'd be using his. And we also told him that if we found any more roaches, that we could throw all his things away as we try very hard to keep our place clean. Needless to say, all his stuff got tossed in the dumpster and he did not take kindly to it. When I got home, my girlfriend called me and told me that her brother was having a mental crisis and that we need to go back to him ASAP. So obviously, we were there as fast as we could be. After we spent 4 hours in the emergency room, our state doesn't have any LTC for mental health. We were finally able to go home and let him get the help he needs. After a while of being home, we decided to go through his phone. He gave us permission to do this, and we found a lot of things that infuriated us. We discovered that not only was he regularly talking to his ex, he also had planned to have this mental breakdown after we were done moving and have us take him to the hospital. And he had also messaged another man about coming over at midnight to do God knows what. We feel that he has basically spat in our face despite bending over backwards to make a crappy situation work. So, Reddit, will we be the buttholes if we kick him out and let him figure his own life out? Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Pinky Stacy. It says, "Not the butthole. Your boyfriend's brother violated the agreement and manipulated the situation. It's clear he isn't ready to take responsibility for his actions and needs help beyond what you can provide. It's not your responsibility to fix his life, especially when he's actively trying to deceive you." Another commenter called IllAssistant9543 said, "Not the butthole. Number 1, he's an adult. He should be responsible for himself in the first place. Number 2, he should be responsible keeping everything clean. Number 3, he is clearly manipulating this situation and mooching. Kick him out and ghost him. Tell your girlfriend that she will not be having him over again. He can fend for himself at a shelter and learn the hard way." I feel like there is a very large violation of trust here. OP and the girlfriend are letting the brother into their apartment where all of their personal items are. I don't think I would trust this person when they are lying to you the whole time. I agree with the commenter saying that OP and the girlfriend just can't provide the help that the brother really needs. Alright, let's get into the update on this one, which was posted in Malicious Compliance. It's titled, "Want to be treated like the adult you are? Fine, fix all your own problems then." When I initially made my Am I the Butthole post, my girlfriend's brother faked a mental breakdown to get out of his responsibilities and put the workload on us. All the while, he was lying to us and talking crap behind our backs. So I'll continue from there. One thing I had forgotten to mention in the original post is that he left behind 3 cats in his apartment that he knew he was about to be evicted from. He had promised us over and over and over again that he was trying his hardest to find a place to rehome 2 of them, and that the 3rd one would come with him if he moved in. We made it blatantly clear that the cat coming with him would be his responsibility, despite being in our apartment, since we would be working and we would have very little time to get the cat used to our husky and our own 2 cats. I'll make it crystal clear that we did not surprise him with this information and that he agreed to our terms. Obviously, since he was in a mental hospital, everything got thrown into a loop. We agreed that we would assist him with finding the cats a new home, and unfortunately, since he was unable to provide any care for the one cat, he would be rehomed as well. We quickly discovered that he had only been talking to one person about them, despite us telling him repeatedly that he needed to have backup options just in case they no-showed. My girlfriend waited for almost an hour after the agreed upon time to meet in his apartment the day before the eviction for this person. And surprise, surprise, they no-showed. With no other option, our only course of action was to call animal control and impound all 3 cats. At first, the process of getting the cats out of the apartment was going pretty well. That was until I got a message from my girlfriend and she was super upset. It turns out her brother had told the officers that we told him that we would take care of the cats and that we would be responsible for any fines and penalties that came from the removal. We would also be at risk of losing our pets. I was pissed. I immediately called them and explained the agreement we had, and the officer I talked to was super helpful and understanding, which was appreciated. Later on, my girlfriend got a call from her brother, and he was livid. He was screaming at her things like, "How could you do this to me?" and "We're siblings." My girlfriend aired out all her grievances, all the lies, manipulation, talking behind our backs, his irresponsibility, everything. It was all deny, 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 and we shut that down pretty quickly. Eventually, he said the magic words, "No contact." I had floated the idea around in my head myself and felt very relieved that I wouldn't have to be the one to bring it up. Needless to say, we happily obliged. Not 10 minutes later, he calls us again and says we need to bring him his car an hour and a half north of us, along with all of his things. Yeah, no. No contact, no help, that's how I feel about it. So now he's stuck an hour away, he has no car, his family wants nothing to do with him, he has little to no place to live. His only options are to move back in with his ex or be homeless. His cats are in danger of being put down. The only thing I feel bad about is that the cats may be put down due to all of this, and it's not fair to them. They deserved a better owner, and if I had the time and space for them, I would have taken them in a heartbeat. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Thank You Happy. It says, "Save the cats and F her brother. Little boy needs to grow up. If that means hitting rock bottom, then so be it. He sounds like a tortured soul that needs to do some soul searching. Enabling him will bring everyone down to his disastrous self-standard." OP responded to this one and said, "Impounding them was our last resort, unfortunately. Every single shelter in our area has been full for months since it's the season to bring back any pets that were Christmas gifts and birthday presents. All of our friends and family already have pets and or have no space for a new one. We tried to make a Facebook post, but they were all taken down. It truly breaks my heart, but I have no idea what to do when it comes to them. But I am open to any suggestions." Alright, I just found another comment from OP a little bit lower down. It says, "Update on the cats. Unfortunately at this point the cat situation is out of our hands. The person at the impound has told us it's completely up to the brother to decide what happens to them. Pisses me off because I know he probably won't do anything for them, but it's his choice to make. I'm sorry, everyone." OP, I understand you're sorry about the cats and that you wish you could do more about them, but keep in mind this shouldn't be on your conscience because your girlfriend's brother is completely responsible for what happens to those cats. I sincerely hope that the brother gets the help that he needs and you guys can just wash your hands of the situation. I know it's going to be hard, but sometimes that's just what you have to do. This story comes to us from LazyAd5441, Malicious Compliance Standoff. About 15 years ago, I used to work in the highly regulated area of inbound mortgage sales in the UK. Our calls were monitored for compliance and multiple failed calls led to action plans being put in place to get you back on track. Well, I had a terrible start to the year and failed 3 calls in a row. The usual follow-up and support didn't happen, and I turned things around and passed the next 4 months of calls with no action plan needed. In month 4, I get called into a meeting to discuss my need for an action plan. I was confused as it had been so long since I had failed a call. I was referred back to the call from the start of the year. I mentioned that I felt that the action plan was unwarranted as I had turned this around myself even without the support, and putting me on an action plan now was definitely closing the stable door after the horse had bolted. I was told this was non-negotiable. Okay, fair enough. The action plan is drawn up and there is a section for my comments. I state the dates of my failed calls, the record since the last failed calls, and my disappointment that the support was not offered at the time of need. I was told I wasn't allowed to record this on the performance plan. What they didn't realize at the time is how petty I am. So I researched the HR handbook, printed out the sections stating implicitly I was allowed to put any info I wanted, recognizing this in this section. I updated the performance plan to state I had been told I couldn't record my objections, the manager who told me that, and added the HR handbook section for good measure. Well, it turns out we were due for an inspection, and not intervening when there is a record of failed calls was a big issue. My diverting the lack of support back to management would not look good. They would not sign off my plan as it stood, and I would not back down either. The result was, I was not allowed to do my job. I was already job searching elsewhere, but I managed to spend 3 months being paid to job search and be available for additional tasks. This mostly ended up with me playing Mario Kart in the break room until busy work could be found elsewhere. When I eventually gave my notice, I was immediately put on a month's paid leave to get me out as soon as they could. This story drives home the point that when they give you the employee handbook when you first get hired somewhere, you need to keep it. Not only that, you need to read it from front to back because you never know when you'll be able to use it against them. This story comes to us from SafeSorbet8327. Won't let me work? Okay. A few years ago at my place of employment, they decided to bring in a new safety glasses policy. As I was a member of the safety committee, I was tasked with finding a company who could supply safety glasses that would fit our employees. And with a new criteria, it had to pass a pencil fit test. By this, I mean a regular pencil should not be able to pass around any part of the glass to enter the eye area. A tight fit, as it were. I called around and found a company that was able to come out and provide us with a choice of 120 different models and styles to choose from. This would allow us to fit everyone, from wide to thin faces, tall, slim faces, hawk-shaped, big-nosed, you name it, we would be able to get them fit. I thought that it was in the bag, piece of cake, or any other platitude you can think of. I almost dislocated my arm patting myself on the back. Well, of course, management has to step in and say, "This doesn't work for us." Their solution? Find a company that has only 6 different styles of glasses and make it work. As I wear prescription lenses, these new style glasses were not designed for this. They only have inserts which are clipped on inside. Well, to make the glasses pencil fit, the glasses fit, the frames are curved to fit your face, hence the insert is bent to fit the frame. Now just imagine taking your glasses and bending them to sit tight to your face. See how this distorts your vision. Now cue malicious compliance. I reported to my boss that I could not wear the new glasses as they distorted my vision and gave me headaches. Their solution was to have me try each model of glasses one at a time and get lenses made for them to see if I could find one that could work. Knowing that no matter what they did, wearing curved frames would not work, every time I got new lenses made, I made sure that they were high index, UV resistant, tinted, scratch resistant, and the best money could buy. I bought lenses for all 6 frame types at a cost of just over $7,000. At the end of this, I went to see my eye specialist, and he wrote me a letter stating that I'm not able to wear the new style glasses as they would damage my eyes. I took this letter into work and showed it to my boss. They didn't know what to do with me. I showed up for work every day, dressed and ready to work, but they never assigned me any work, as it would be too dangerous, even though I had worn my old safety glasses for the last 25 years. Suddenly, it's too dangerous. So, they had me just sitting in the lunchroom. I would play games on the computer. I was going to night school, so I completed a semester of school, and basically just screwed around. One day, I was playing video games, and our number 2 big boss walked in and saw me. I said good morning with a big smile and a wave. He didn't. A couple of days later, our number 1 boss walked in while I was reading the newspaper, and he asked me what I was doing, and I said, reading the paper. He said, why? I said, they told me it's too dangerous out there for me. The next day, I was back at work. 10.5 weeks I was off, and suddenly, the policy was changed. Wouldn't safety goggles work better than safety glasses in this case? And most safety goggles can go right over top of any prescription glasses that people might wear without pushing them at angles or anything. I'm actually amazed at how many stories we've had recently of people getting paid to do nothing at work. I want to remind you all again of a video I did about 2 years ago called Forgotten Employee, The American Dream. I'm going to link it down below. If you haven't seen or heard that one yet, you need to go there now. It's a story about a worker who was there for years without being noticed and having no work to do, and everything they went through. It's an amazing story. Check it out at the link in the description on YouTube and also on the podcast. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.